right, welcome to No Brainer MMA. Coming off a great week last week, 12 out of 14, 3 out of 4 underdogs in the entire card. We're going to keep the momentum going. We're going to get right into this right now. Ryankoski versus Blood Diamond. Third time's a charm for this fight here, and hopefully after two scrap fights, we finally get to see these two. Blood Diamond really didn't look good in his UFC debut. He's Adesanya's training partner, pro kickboxer. Doesn't really have technical striking, though. A lot of looping punches, kind of throws from the hip, but he does hit very hard. Very green to MMA too, 3-1 pro record. He's not a spring chicken, 34 years old, so he's kind of late to the game to start. But guys that transition later to MMA like that too, I find there's, especially from a striker to a MMA fighter, usually have trouble with the grappling. That's like obvious. And Blood Diamond did have trouble. He was controlled for 4 minutes and 25 seconds of a 4-minute and 38-second fight. Ryankoski, Contender Series alum, also made his UFC debut in his last time out. He controlled Phil Rowe the entire first round, but ended up getting dropped and finished in the second. He's also a striker, very fast hands, powerful, get takedowns too, as a brutal ground and pounds. I think Ryankoski grapples with Blood Diamond early, wears on that gas tank, and I think he takes this one. Pretty confident in this first one, too. So I'm going to go with Ryankoski. I'm going to move right into the next one. Naikumaranu versus Ihor Patera. Naiku was riding a 3-fight winning streak after losing his debut and taking 2 years off for back and knee surgery. He's a striker he's a former Kempo champ. He's got like a Kung Fu style. With all due respect, I haven't been too impressed. I think he's getting by on like the skin of his teeth for the most part. He's been outstruck in 2 of his 3 wins right now, and 2 of those were split decisions, and they were very close. And personally, I think he should have lost those split decisions, both of them. So he looked okay. They were very close fights, so I can see how he won it, but just putting that out there. He was outstruck in both those fights. Like I said, very low accuracy. He's got a minus 2.6 striking differential. His accuracy was 36, while his opponents was 68 and 40% when his opponents were 50 in those 2 losses too. Just to put that out there also. Not to mention only 62% takedown defense. Patera make his UFC debut after an appearance on the Contender Series. Only 26 years old, has a 20-2 record. He's from Ukraine, and we just had that other guy. Name is, I'm forgetting his name right now, but yeah, he just got he lied about his resume 3 times, and he was kicked from the UFC right after that. So I am kind of sketched out by Ukrainian fighters, and that 20-2 record is very, very overhyped. There was a lot of low-level competition in that for sure. He did finish 16 of those fights. I watched some of his tape. I wasn't too impressed. Former middleweight. Looks a little undersized out there. I watched him get knocked down by a guy with a 5-8 record, and the fight before that on the Contender Series, the fight before he was on the Contender Series, excuse me, and it wasn't that hard of a punch, and that just kind of sold me on picking against him in this one. He did get him with a cool modified triangle, so I will give him that. That was pretty cool. He does this thing where he just throws haymakers and puts his head down it's like a backyard fight. It is powerful when he lands, but someone who's technical like Naiku, I feel like is just going to pick him apart. So I'm going to go with Naikumaranu in this one. Kind of tough. I'm just curious to see what this guy looks like. I don't think I'm going to be overly impressed. So I'm going against him in this one. We're going Naiku. Going to move right into the next one. Jiyeon King versus Jocelyn Edwards. I'm starting to feel bad for Jiyeon Kim at this point. She's on a 3-fight losing skid. 2 of those were fight of the night awards against very good competition: Alexa Grasso, Molly McCann, and Priscilla Cachoeira. And she was taking another tough fight against Maria Agapova, but I think she's taking a step down in competition and taking Jocelyn Edwards on short notice. Kim has a very fun fight style. She gets caught up in her hands. He ends up into these crazy wars. Also, her takedown defense isn't that good. She does headhunt a lot. She just sticks with boxing. That's it. And this fight, I think, is going to be low key a banger because Edwards is also a good high volume striker, but she does have a huge hole in her game, which is her takedown defense. So both girls are good high volume strikers with bad takedown defense. Although it looked pretty good in her last time out, when she took a short notice fight at featherweight, 2 weight classes up from where she's at right now. It did hold up. So that was actually pretty good to see. Kim doesn't really grapple, so I expect this fight to stay on the feet. Edwards is very technical on the feet, Muay Thai style, quick on her feet, in and out movement, like gets away from a lot of damage. And for that reason, she's got a +2 striking differential. That being said, I think Kim's just going to make it ugly, forward pressure the whole time, and I think she'll be able to take it. And I'm going to go with Jiyeon Kim in this third one right now, and I'm going to move right into the next one. Michael Morales versus Adam Fuggett, which is one of the best last names I've seen in a long time. That's so awesome. Now, another short notice fight. Michael Morales was supposed to take on Ramiz Brahimaj, pulled out last week, so Adam Fuggett steps in. And besides having the best last name I've ever heard, he's making his UFC debut, 8-2 record, finished 7 of those fights. He got a brutal KO over Solomon Renfro in his last time out in the LFA and literally spun this dude around 360 degrees from an overhand right. His fight style is very awkward, hard to figure out, utilizes a lot of kicks, and on the feet fights like he's in a Muay Thai fight. And he's very well-rounded. He can take the fight to the ground. He's a good sub game. Morales made his debut in his last time out. He has an undefeated 13-0 record, 10 of those by KO. And he's only seen the third round 2 times in his pro career. He's only 23 years old, huge welterweight, 79-inch reach. But besides his striking, which is very powerful and explosive, he's a great wrestler to go along with it. This fight should be fun. I do see a finish. I think Morales will be able to get the finish here. He's a huge prospect, very high ceiling. And the odds makers have it like at a -600 right now. So they're agreeing with, we all are agreeing what's going to go on here. So we're going to go Michael Morales in this one. We're going to move right into the next one. Drakkar Klose versus Rafa Garcias. I don't think Drakkar Klose, I'm sure, I do think Drakkar Klose is vastly underrated. And I feel for the guy because he's got back problems ever since that Jeremy Stevens like pushed him at weigh-ins and like spun and like gave him whiplash. He actually did some serious damage to his back and was out for a while. And again, for the third time already on this card, we got another short notice fight. Klose was supposed to take on Diego Ferreira, which would have been a sick war. And now he's taking a step down in competition, fighting Rafa Garcia. Great striker, fundamentally sound. He does go to decision a lot, kind of just outpoints his opponent. Doesn't have the heaviest hands, but just goes, out there with a game plan, outpoint his opponent, take it to a decision, take it to those later rounds, show off your good cardio, peppers in some takedowns, keeps his opponent guessing. He's only fought once in over 2 years, but he really looked refreshed and ready to go when he came after that back injury in his last time out. Rafa Garcia has a very grappling heavy fight style, but actually does have good striking to go along with it. More power over volume. But when he lands, if he lands a good shot on you, you're going to feel it for sure. But he's very heavy on his feet. Like he plants his feet and they stay there and ends up taking a lot of damage. He has a -1.4 striking differential, only 36% striking accuracy. His cardio has been exploited too in the past. He slows down pretty good. I expect Garcia try to get the takedowns in the first round because Drakkar Klose has, an iffy takedown defense. But I think Klose, will keep a good pace, slow down Garcia, and Klose grinds out a decision here. So we're going Drakkar Klose. Going to move right into the next one. Heavyweight fight, Dontel Mays versus Hamdi Abdelwahab. And this is the other guy from Ukraine who I think has a very padded record. This guy, a lot more than the last, and I'm going to get into that right now. Another fight, another short notice fight. What else is new? Mays was scheduled to take on Justin Taffa. He was injured, so Hamdi is stepping in as his replacement. He has a 3-0 record, very green. He's an Olympic wrestler and actually started his MMA career in Jorge Masvidal's bare knuckle MMA organization. So he's got 2 exhibition fights. So technically he's 5-0 as a pro fighter. So I'm going to go with that, 5-0. All fights ending by KO. But besides being a wrestler, he does not mind striking. He actually prefers striking. His opponents, for the most part, are usually scared of his wrestling background. He's an Olympic wrestler. It's a big deal. And it surprises them when he starts throwing these crazy heavy punches, forward pressure on the feet. The problem with that is he's literally fought no one. 2 out of his 5 wins came from a guy who looked like he's never trained for a fight in his entire life. His name is Matthew Strickland. I'm going to put a note in right now to put a picture of Matthew Strickland, because you guys see it. Like, he's 39 years old, and I forget his record off the top of my head, but he has a terrible record, and it's some of the lowest competition for a guy he fought this guy 2 times out of those 5 fights, and he fought him in his last time out, and now he's making his UFC debut. And I just think that's absolutely insane. I watched his bare knuckle fights. He took some big shots. He barely moves his head. And if he tries to fight like that, just standing and banging with a guy like Mays, who has a lot more experience being a former LFA fighter, 3-time Contender Series alum, great striker, fast, heavy hands, he's going to have a problem with that for sure. He's also going to have an 8-inch reach advantage. I think Mays just puts that jab out there, keeps Hamdi at bay so he doesn't close the distance, try to take the fight to the ground. He just picks him apart. Probably a stoppage too. I can see the damage adding up pretty quickly. I don't know if I want to go with the under on this one, but I do see a finish. Probably I want to say second round. I don't think he makes it to the third round. So I'm going to go with Dontel Mays, and now we're going to move right into the next one. Drew Dober versus Rafael Alves. How could you not like a guy like Drew Dober? He's literally never had a boring fight. He goes out there, bites down on his mouthpiece, and does what he does best, and he just punches you in the face. But because of this, we've seen him lose a decent amount in the UFC. Not a bad thing, because he goes out there and they're all competitive fights, but it's his fight style. It's for the fans. His punching power is pretty insane. But people found the blueprint to beat him, which is close the distance, don't play his game, take the fight to the ground. His takedown defense is very poor. 4 out of his last 5 losses have been by sub because of this. That being said, he really only loses to high-level competition: Makhachev, Dariush, Brad Riddell. Rafael Alves is far more well-rounded mixed martial artist here. I think he's most known for that time he missed weight by 12 pounds almost against Pat Sabatini last year. I don't know how he's not just cut for that, and he really lost all credibility that he had, not to mention pulled out of 2 fights in less than 6 months in this last year alone. And like Dober, he also has trouble stopping takedowns, but he is pretty good off his back. But Drew Dober's striking is light years ahead of Alves, but Alves is the better grappler, so even playing field right there. But overall, the only way I see Alves winning is like a sub. So I'm going to go Dober in this one. I think he's able, for the most part, keep it on the feet and do what he does best, strike with him. And we're going to move. I'm going to go with Drew Dober in that one. Excuse me. And we're going to move right into the next one. Alex Morono versus Matt Semelsberger. No, I don't know about anyone else, but I think there was one fight I would stay away from on this whole card. I think this is the one. It's a very close matchup for me with 2 guys that are very, very similar. Morono obviously has the experience advantage by a lot, but both guys are pretty high volume strikers. Morono is riding a 3-fight winning streak, including a very one-sided fight against Mickey Gall in his last time out. But I say this every time. Alex Morono's biggest strength is that fight IQ of his. I think he's one of the smartest fighters in the UFC. And besides a striker, he's a second-degree black belt in BJJ. Matt Semelsberger, 4-1 so far in the UFC. The level of competition he's faced is a drop in the hat compared to Morono. But like Morono, he's a good striker, more technical, I would say, than Morono, and also has a background in BJJ. Both guys don't have the best takedown defense either. Morono has 53, Semelsberger 42. Tough call, but I think I'll go with Morono. He's the underdog in this one, and I think it's very close. I kind of see him just grinding out making it ugly, a very ugly decision win for Alex Morono. So I'm going to go with him in that one, and we're going to move right into the next one, Magomed Ankalaev versus Anthony Smith. Let me start this one by saying Ankalaev is already the biggest betting underdog on this. Second biggest, actually. So minus 500. The odds makers, obviously see a mismatch in this one. And I'm kind of, it's hard not to see it. Ankalaev is a guy who started training as a Greco-Roman wrestler, later combat sambo, but he prefers to take care of business on the feet. And if he has to, if he has to, like, he can pull out takedowns. Like in that his fight against Nikita Krylov, he was kind of, not doing too well on the feet, and he ended up grappling with him and took the fight easy. He doesn't really put out a crazy amount of output out there with his hands. Not too active with his hands, I should say, but he's accurate with the shots that he does, light on his feet, and he's got a lot of punching power. And he's for sure a 5-round fighter. He has great cardio and gets better as the fight goes on. Anthony Smith is one of the more decorated 205ers in UFC history in over a decade-long career. And he rebounded well since those 2 brutal back-to-back losses from Teixeira and Rakic. And he's now on a 3-fight winning streak. All first-round finishes, including 2 Performance of the Night awards. And he's one of those guys that goes out there every time, looks for a finish, or takes a beating trying, which you kind of have to respect for him for that. He's definitely best on the ground off his back, but he does have a stiff jab on his feet. He's tough as nails, and he has been knocked out and finished before, but he does have a chin on him. I think Ankalaev is better on the feet, better getting those takedowns, and could exploit Smith's 48% takedown defense. And Smith might want to get taken down. I don't want to say want, but maybe he does at some point if he's taking a lot of damage on the feet, try to work submissions off his back. But I think Ankalaev takes this one for sure. He's overdue for a finish. So I could see a finish in this one. Paul Craig was the last guy to beat Ankalaev by a sub in Ankalaev's UFC debut. So you never know. There could be a freak upset here by Anthony Smith. I wouldn't put it past him. The guy's a veteran and really tough top 10 guy. And yeah, that being said, after I say all those good things about Anthony Smith, I'm going to go Magomed Ankalaev in this one. Sorry, guys. Not today. All right, so Alexander Pantoja versus Alex Perez. Alex Perez has been out for nearly 2 years. He's had a really impressive six fights canceled since the last time he's fought, including missing weight in 2 of those times against Matt Schnell. Not really a good look. So who knows if he'll even make weight for this one. I kind of have some serious doubts. When he does fight, though, he's a well-rounded guy. He's got a background wrestling, BJJ, boxing. He's got a plus 1.6 striking differential, 3 takedowns per fight at 45% accuracy and 87% takedown defense. And in his last time out, faced Figgy and was subbed in under 2 minutes. But he got the experience to fight for belts and at the highest level, so maybe that means something. But the cannibal Alexander Pantoja is a different breed. He's also well-rounded, pushes the pace a lot, always marching forward, great striking, really utilizes those kicks, goes out there just looking to scrap. And I'm going to have to go with Pantoja on this one. I just can't trust Perez at this point. He's still a young guy, only 30 years old, but you got to show me something before you can just, get back in everyone's good graces. So, this one I'm pretty sure is Pantoja all the way. And if Perez, watch on Friday, if Perez does come in overweight, I would hammer that Pantoja money line. I think it's pretty close. I think it's like a minus 160 right now. So look for that for Friday. Gonna go with Pantoja. Gonna move right into the next one. Derek Lewis versus Sergey Pavlovich. I feel like there's a curse every time 2 heavyweights come together that both get a lot of finishes like these 2 guys. All the stars align on an under a KO finish, and it turns into the grossest, most tired, drawn-out fight of the night. So knock on wood for this next one. But I seriously think that Derek Lewis is getting disrespected in this one. He opened as the betting underdog. He still is right now. He's a guy with 17 UFC wins, 14 of those by knockout. And he has wins over Francis Ngannou, who's the champ, Curtis Blades, who I think, in my opinion, is like a top 3 gatekeeper, Volkov, who's just a veteran in the division. He's one of the hardest hitters in the UFC, probably MMA, and only needs one punch to end a fight. Pavlovich, don't get me wrong, also a very hard hitter himself, has won 12 of his 15 wins by KO, 11 of those in the very first round. Not to mention has an 84-inch reach and a background in wrestling, only 30 years old. The guy has a very high ceiling right now in a division that's pretty bare. Very bright future. He's got that Dana White privilege, though. He's been gifted his last 3 wins. You go back and look at those. It's very good matchups for him. I just think people are counting Lewis out, as they do. I feel like he opens as the betting underdog in most of his fights, and he wins a majority of them. So I'm going to have to go with Derek Lewis in this one. This is Pavlovich's hardest test in his entire career at this point, and I think it's a little bit too much too soon. So, yes, I will be going with Derek Lewis. All right, we're going to move right into the co-main event, Brandon Moreno versus Kai Kara-France, number 2 for the flyweight title. Now, this is a very interesting fight, and it's actually the sequel. I don't think a lot of people are talking about that. So they do have there's a history to this fight. They fought back in 2019. It was a great back and forth fight. Both guys just standing with each other the entire time, super entertaining, not clinching once. There was 0 seconds of control time for both of them. Moreno's coming off a brutal decision loss where he lost 3 rounds to 2, was knocked down 3 times. It was still a very close fight. The guy is tough as nails. And he made the trilogy with Figgy 1-1-1 right now. Kai Kara-France is on a great roll. He's on a 3-fight winning streak, but while Moreno is fighting for the championship in his last 3 fights, France was facing Rogerio Bontorin, who's winless in his last 4, Cody Garbrandt, who has a damaged chin and has lost 5 out of his last 6, and Askar Askarov, who I actually kind of like. But he's very up-and-coming guy. He needs some work still. I think that championship experience means a lot for this fight. France is a great striker, super technical, Muay Thai, very powerful for a 125er, probably one of the hardest hitters at 125. But I don't see this fight going like that first one. Almost like there was like a sparring match thing on the feet. Not sparring match. I don't want to disrespect them. It was a war. It was, but stayed on the feet the whole time. I think Moreno grapples with France, slows him down. This is a 5-round fight, so he's got to prepare himself. But I really do think he probably wants to get rid of some of France's power, wear on his gas tank, take the fights into the championship rounds, and I think he gets the decision nod in this one. So I'm going to go with Brandon Moreno in the co-main event. And we're going to move right into main event, Julianna Peña, Amanda Nunes 2. And I don't know if it's just me, maybe it's just me, but I think Julianna Peña is insufferable. I give it to her. She was able to take a beating in that first round from Nunes. Nunes gassed out looking for that finish. Peña was able to capitalize on that, ended up getting the win. God bless her. And if you fight long enough like Nunes has, it's just bound to you're bound to lose. It's impossible to be perfect if you want, like, if you're fighting in the UFC for 10 years or more. It's just gonna happen. It's no matter the hype of the person, when all is said and done, it's a fight, and you have to remember anything can happen. Look at Valentina Shevchenko. She got ragdolled for 5 rounds and somehow was gifted a win in that one. But she definitely, come on, everyone watched it. She got beat. But for this fight, I just do not see Amanda Nunes losing again. She'll probably start off a little slower, fight a little more smart. She'll probably grapple early on with Peña, but Peña has a pathetic 22% takedown defense. And Nunes is an elite grappler, probably the best grappler in 135 and 145 division. This one's pretty open and shut for me. Overall, I just don't see Peña winning. I don't think Amanda will let it happen again. So I'm going to go with Amanda Nunes in this one. And that is it. Hopefully, I can't fucking talk. Hopefully we keep the momentum going, and, it's another good week. And, yeah, that's it. No brainer. We're out of here. I'm out of here. Peace.